Sooner or later, the real person always comes out. Whether they're a king in the kingdom or a clown in the circus, who they really are, it's gonna be known. Let's get into it. What up, y'all? I'm Christopher Markland, and welcome to my review/analysis of episode 4 of season 6 of Ready to Love. Well, some people call it season 7, but we ain't gonna get into that debate again. Anyway, as always, I don't just tell you about the show that you've already watched. I'm not gonna, regurgitate the same information that you've already seen, but instead, what I do is I like to talk about the scenarios and the people on the show, their personalities, the interactions, all of that things in terms of love, relationships, dating, marriage, all of that good stuff. So if you like how I do it, please be sure to like, subscribe to this channel, and definitely leave a comment below.
Let's take this opportunity right now to welcome back Looney.
Hello, Looney. Thank you.
First time here in the lab.
It is. I'm excited to be in the lab.
Looney's back after testing positive for COVID. I'm glad that she's back. I'm glad that she really didn't have any issues. There's another reviewer. He doesn't necessarily review this show. He does usually Married at First Sight. But anyway, I'm a big fan of his, like how he does the show. But what right now his wife is battling complications from COVID. She's got, don't go into too much of their personal thing. But anyway, so I'm saying all that to say, y'all, as much as I'm going to talk about when it comes to your mental health and therapy and all of that, at the same time, please, I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again, please make sure you take care of your physical health as well. I get it, we got every other day it's a pandemic or an epidemic or an epidural, whatever it's always something. Right now, we're talking about monkeypox. With everything that's going on, please, please, please take care of yourself, take the necessary precautions, take care of both your physical and your mental health, and take care of your spiritual health while you're at it.
Wow.
So I want to see what's behind the exterior to figure out who she is on a deeper level.
What's that?
What's up?
Oh my God.
Oh.
He's so big.
Okay, I know we just getting started in this review, but I gotta pick this nit. How can you be on a date with somebody and then when the food comes, you're asking, what is that? Now, it's always been my experience that whether I'm on a date, whether just out with somebody, you kind of have a discussion about, hey, so what you getting? Okay, it's I don't know, maybe that's just me, but that conversation is had, and it's like when I'm listening to their interaction, I'm like, did they just bring out some random food that y'all didn't know what the other was ordering, or is that just some of that reality show stuff? So that way the stuff that happens after this makes sense. I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think.
Ooh, it's thick. But it's juicy too.
Really?
What'd I do?
Nothing.
I mean, the sexual chemistry is there. It's not deniable by anybody. It's an issue.
So how are you in relationships?
Sexual chemistry is not only a good thing, it is a necessary thing in the early stages of a relationship. If you don't necessarily have that energy that, you want to do something, the physical parts. I was talking about the tingly parts. If they're not tingling, then obviously that is an issue in and of itself. Now, what I do like is in this interaction right there, Randall could have taken it one of two ways. They had the sexual banter going on, all that, the innuendo and all of that good stuff. He could have kept that energy going, but instead he changed the direction because he's like, all right, so tell me about, what it is you're looking for in a relationship. He made it more serious. We always talk about dating with intention and whatnot. Sex is easy. That's the physical. As long as you feel it, as long as, like I said, the tingly parts are tingling, that's easy. I like how you look. How you look makes me feel a certain way. Let's engage in that. Easy. But putting in the work, getting to know somebody, realizing that, okay, beyond the physical, that takes work, but it also takes intention.
At the end of the day, I like Kayla more. I learned a new side of her and what she's really looking for in life and how she wants her family to look later down the road.
Thank you for dinner. Yeah, I'll let you know when I get home.
Randall is definitely making those solid connections with these ladies because he seems to be the most genuine of all the dudes that are there. Now, something else that he does is that he makes the woman that he's with, the woman that he's on a date with or having conversation with, he focuses just on them. You know, you never really see him surrounded with a bunch of different people. And the one time that he was when they had the whole thing about, you know, being treated like a king. And even then he was like, yeah, it made me feel awkward. So with this situation right here, but with him and Kayla, you see them walking hand in hand. And, you know, then at the end of the date, he goes in for some serious touching by giving her that big bear hug, almost, you know, also lifting her up off her feet, that kind of thing. However, even as he did earlier, one thing he does, and he also did the same thing with Trinika as well, where when they were talking, he was holding hands, you know, it's that connection. That's how he moves. I mean, he is a physical trainer, so he's also physical with the women. That's his thing, I guess, and it works. However, it's not just about the physical. We've seen a lot of dudes come through, use physical to their advantage. However, with Randall, just as you saw him do earlier in the date, instead of keeping the conversation on the physical, he instead moved it into deeper waters and where they were having deeper conversations, you know, to show his intention. Randall moves differently than the other fellas, and quite honestly, I like how he's doing it.
What are some character traits that you like? Like,
yeah,
I want to take her out, see what she's about.
The first thing, I got probably a different process. It's a little probably awkward.
Okay.
It's just, I'm not a big dater, so I'm not gonna do things the romance you like. No, I'm not gonna do it. It's rare. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to spend money to find out if I like you.
It may sound harsh, but I understand what the dude is saying. A date is not a girlfriend. And what he's saying, or how I interpret what he's saying in that, you know, he doesn't spend a lot of money to see if he actually likes a woman, is essentially the same as a woman saying, I don't want to have sex with that guy a bunch of times to see if I really like him. It sounds just as crazy. Why do I need to spend money to see if I like you? And at the same time, why does a woman have to have sex with somebody to see if she likes him? There are many different ways that you can go about seeing that you like someone, you're attracted to someone, besides having to spend money on them or having sex with them. So what he's saying there does make sense. What I said earlier about a date is not a girlfriend, that means that you going out on a date with somebody is not the same as you as a man having a girlfriend and spending money, spending time on his girlfriend versus spending money and spending time on a date and trying to get to know someone. Now, once you do get to know someone and realize, hey, you know what? I like their conversation. I like their energy. I like how I feel around her. I like how she makes me feel. I like how she reacts to how I make her feel. Now I want to do more for her. So now you can introduce spending more money. Now you can introduce spending more time. I think that in our society, a lot of people have gotten it twisted where it's like, if you ain't spending $500 on the first date, then you ain't shit. And that's, I believe, what he's trying to say in that, hey, I'm not trying to spend a whole bunch of money to get to know you. I feel that I can get to know you without spending the money. And keep in mind, too, he's in Miami, but I'm going to dig into that a little bit later.
It's not kosher. It's just not.
So how would I know that you like me?
Well, we would still interact.
Okay.
It's not like I won't do nothing, like go to the beach or, but
that's
I'm saying like formal settings, like I ain't doing that if you ain't.
So you're intentional about that.
I'm not here to play with y'all.
And this is why I said I feel where he's coming from. He's in Miami, and also just the culture and the dating world as it is right now is where, you know, you hear people saying, if you broke, just say so, because you ain't trying to take them out to Ruth's Chris and spend $1,500 on the first date. So especially in Miami, where it's all about the show, it's all about being seen, it's all about the bread, it's all about that. And there are certain pockets where that is the environment. So I can understand what he's saying with like, yo, I'm not about to spend a lot of money to get to know you. If I'm interested in you, there are other ways that I can really get to know who you are before all the money is introduced. Again, I'm not mad at the dude. I understand what he's saying. Yeah, it seems a little bit harsh, but if you stop and think about it, it really does make sense.
Like,
Right.
If y'all don't pick me because I'm not doing something y'all tell me to, then that's on y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the personal time in my life to cater to multiple women. I can put my energy in somebody that's reciprocating me and I'm talking to, then it just go fishing.
This is the 6th season of the show, 7 if you count the Last Resort spinoff. So I know that all of us who are fans of the show understand the premise of the show. So I would hope that someone that signed up, went through the process to be a cast member of the show, would understand that the show's premise is that all of the men date multiple women until they, solidify who their main connections are. and then walk off into the sunset. That's the ultimate goal of the show. So it doesn't really make sense to me that you know, I get it. He prefers one-on-one dates, fine. But it doesn't make any sense to me that, you know, you are trying to buck what the actual show is about because you prefer it a certain way. That's a recipe for failure. Now, my personal opinion is what happened was I believe that he went on the show and was hoping to have an instant connection with someone that sparked, you know, his attention, that kept his attention, and there was a mutual interest on both party, both, you know, physically interested in him as well as, you know, there's a mental connection as well, meaning they could hold good conversation. That didn't happen. So at this point, he's just really going through the motions, or at least that's how it comes across. I don't necessarily think that he's there, you know, he went in there with negative intentions per se. I just get that vibe. I just think that when he looked around and realized like, it is what it is. I'm already here. So let the chips fall where they may.
I want to know that there's a partner there and out there for me that's interested in me just as much as I'm interested in him.
Right. You know, I got to talk to multiple people and try to figure people out. So I'm basing everything off energy. You know what I mean? You're going to come on mine. I'm the king. You know what I'm saying?
A couple seasons ago, we had a cast member by the name of Ron who spoke about divine masculinity. Y'all, I'm here for it because I really think that things have gotten so twisted upside down that you have a lot of feminized men and masculine women. So therefore, if things continue to get out of whack, this dating scene and all of that is just going to be all kinds of discombobulated. It's not going to be good for anybody. Now, what he's saying there to me makes total sense because as a king, you do need to be steadfast in who you are. And if you start bending and swaying based on the energy of the person that's in front of you, instead of being who you are, no matter where you are, no matter who's in front of you, then that's going to be problematic. Imagine, if you will, a king, a president, a leader of any kind who's always moving with everything as opposed to having their core set of beliefs, their core principles, and then moving in a certain direction. I'm not saying that person is stubborn or headstrong and it's like my way or the highway. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is if that person is like, if somebody says go left, they run there. Hey, go right, they go there. They're always following somebody. By definition, they're not a leader. By definition, that's not the behavior of a king being directed by everybody else. So I understand what the brother is saying in that, hey, I am a king. They come to my kingdom and they're going to move as I direct. Now, whether he's a benevolent leader or if he's just a dictator, well, that's a whole nother conversation. So, you know, it's one of those things, like I said, the feminization of men and the masculinization of women, it has become a problem. But also something else that he said is, in fact, the minute that he sat down, he's like, yeah, a one-on-one. I get to talk to you one-on-one. He prefers the one-on-one versus the group dynamic. And I'm going to get into the group dynamic as well, because there is such a thing as mob rule. When people get together, they start, you know, influencing each other, as opposed to when you're one-on-one, then it's just you and that person, and then you can really get to know each other genuinely.
I can come to you. I'm going to come to you. But you're not going to get much after you. You think I'm going to chase something. You know, I'm too busy taking care of the kingdom. You understand what I'm saying? You looking at it, you want to get on it. You think it's a facade, that's on you. That means it's for somebody else. My mindset be different.
Justice is justice. He comes off arrogant.
I am a firm believer in that men should pursue, but they should not chase. A man who is on his purpose, meaning he is going about doing the things that he needs to do to be the man that he is called to be, does not have time to chase after a woman. Now, he should, obviously, if there's a woman that he's interested in, pursue her. The two are not the same. However, what he's saying there, it may sound arrogant, I get it, but what he's saying as far as his kingdom and the woman coming into his kingdom, the woman that, you know, that he chooses to be with and chooses to be with him, comes into his kingdom, it makes sense. Think about it. At a wedding, you have the altar. Does the groom walk down the aisle to the bride who's standing there so that the groom can give her his last name? Or is it the other way around? It's that way for a reason, and therefore what he's saying does make sense.
Now listen, Jackie and I have a loving and happy marriage. We put the time and effort to get here. 21 years, baby. You see it?
Yes.
You want the ring? Come holler at us. We'll show you how to get the ring.
All right now.
All right now.
As much as I appreciate Tommy and Jacqueline's long-term marriage, I mean, 21 years, shit, I can't even count to 21, especially with my marriage. Ooh, anyway, I appreciate that. However, I do not think that they can really give good advice to people who are dating in today's crazy dating environment. It's kind of like somebody who's been working the same job for 21 years telling somebody who is just getting into the job market, hey, this is what you need to do to get a job. You know, you need to do this. They've been at the same company. They haven't had to update their resume. They haven't had to go on interviews. They have been in the same place. So dating is a hell of a lot different than marriage, which is a hell of a lot different than a long-term 20+ year marriage. It's two different things. Again, I appreciate their marriage and the longevity that they've had. However, what the contestants and just the not contestants, but the cast members are at a different stage when it comes to relationships.
I have a connection with Kayla and Tranika, but I'm excited to see Jamala again. Ready?
Of course.
What caught my attention about Jamala was she's super easy to talk to. Like, you kind of gravitate into her energy.
Gravitate to her energy. That is essentially what Justice was just saying. Think about it. Randall has 3 different connections, which means that he is gravitating towards the energy of 3 different women. Now, if you are not balanced in your own energy, if you're not secure in your own energy, if you're not centered in your own energy, but you are moving all in 3 different directions, how can you then have energy of your own in order to stay on your purpose? You can only divert so much attention in so many different ways before you start to be depleted. So again, if you are going after in different directions, if you're not centered in your own energy as opposed to giving it to others, you know, going as you're pursuing them in dating, that is a problem. And again, that's essentially what Justice was saying.
Like, walking through the door, I seen you, it was just like perfect, right? Like that's
Laying it on thick right now, Ra.
This man honest.
Damn it, Ra.
This man honest. Like,
Dang it.
what are the chances? You know?
I like you a lot.
I like you a lot.
Shut up.
There is something to be said about the person that's sitting across from you being able to uphold their end of the conversation. A couple of seasons ago, we had a cast member by the name of Dante, and as I looked at him, one of the things that I said was that he spoke in ad-libs. In other words, like, yeah, okay, you know, and so in other words, he wouldn't add to the conversation, but instead he would either repeat something back that the person said, or, you know, he would play off of their words, but not add anything to the conversation in order to keep it moving. That's essentially what Jamila is doing right there, in that there's nothing she's saying to move the conversation forward. And what that does is now that puts the pressure on Randall to keep the conversation going. So what you have is a bunch of nonsense, essentially. It's like, yeah, okay, for real. There's nothing of value being said in that conversation. One thing I've learned, if they may be pretty to look at, they may be attractive, handsome, whatever the case may be, the person that you have sitting across from you, but if they are not able to uphold and keep the conversation going, that is a recipe for disaster.
We're in a space where we still have to meet 9 other people.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, though. I can smile with the best, though. I'm good at that.
Oh, so you're a charmer, huh?
You tell me, am I?
You are charming.
There is a fine line between being a charmer and being an F-boy. Now, I will say this, Randall doesn't strike me as an F-boy. Like I said earlier, he does seem to be a pretty genuine dude. Now, he is touchy-feely and all that, but again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it's necessary to, you know, for a man to do that, to let the woman know that, hey, I ain't trying to be your friend, I ain't trying to be your play cousin. This is real. I want to let you know that I'm all up in your personal space, so you know that you're going to feel all of this, to let you know that I'm serious about, you know, my intentions with you. All right. So I'm here for it. Now, I will say this, being that he has these connections and the way he does connect, you know, it draws the women in. If he doesn't make a decision fairly soon as far as who he is going to move forward with, he's going to have a problem on his hands.
We never really got to talk like personally. We talked about social things.
Right, I agree.
I just want to know more about Zoe.
Yeah, I want to, you know, open up, you know, kind of let you know more about me, you know, what makes me tick.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about you. Like, have you ever been married?
If you want to do something, then do it. There's no need to make a proclamation. Well, I want to open up and let you know about me. Just open up and let her know. You don't need to say it. All of that just seems really awkward. Now, I get it. Part of the exercise is to reach out and talk to someone that's not necessarily your quote unquote type, or, you know, who you normally gravitate towards. I get it. However, there's just something, like I said, it's just awkward. It's just forced. And I'm a firm believer, if it don't fit, don't force it, especially when it comes to relationships. If it ain't working, back away, be like, hey, appreciate it, I'm out.
Have you ever been married?
Whew, that's a story to tell.
Yeah?
You know, I was with someone for about 7 years. She was always wanting to get married. I bought the girl a ring. I gave her what she wanted, you know, and that was to be engaged.
This is a lot to unpack. The first obvious question is, why would you ask someone to marry you that you really didn't want to marry or to be married to? Now, this is something I've dealt with in my past life, in a previous relationship, and I understand to a certain extent. Unfortunately, I understand where he's coming from, you know, but this is something that has to be dealt with in therapy. I had to go through that because, like I said, I've dealt with it, and it ultimately boils down to being a people pleaser. In other words, you're not centered enough in who you are, what it is you want, what it is you expect to be given from the person that you're with. So then what you do is you try to derive, for lack of a better word, pleasure or acceptance from the person you're with by doing whatever it is you think they want you to do. That is not a healthy place to be in a relationship, and it damn sure isn't a healthy reason to want to be married to somebody.
But why didn't you just tell her instead of getting her the ring?
Because I felt like the pressure had mounted up so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the very next morning, I asked for that ring back.
Wow. Oh, you did that?
I did that.
How long ago was this?
Oh, this has been 11 years ago now.
I don't know why, but I get the feeling that he's been telling this story for so long because it garners him a certain measure of sympathy. Because the way he told it, you would have thought that the situation happened 2 years ago, a year ago. It was recent, not 11 years ago. So therefore, that's a lot. Now, I'm glad that at the end of the day, he did, you know, get the ring back, and that he didn't move forward with the marriage, because that would have made a bad situation worse. However, just the whole thing, just listening to it, none of that is healthy, and none of that seems to be coming from a man that is in a better place. It just sounds too scripted, too rehearsed.
Ultimately, I realized that this wasn't the person I wanted to spend my life with.
Well, that's good for you.
Yeah.
So do you want to get married?
I mean, ultimately, that's the end goal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I want a partnership.
Yeah.
You know, someone that I can grow with, someone that we can build a future together. You know, that's what I'm looking for.
Ultimately, he came to the ultimate conclusion that he ultimately didn't want to be married to the woman that he proposed to. So ultimately speak, let me stop. Oh, y'all, I've been married quite a few times, right? And one of the hardest things, the hardest decisions that you have to come to is when you realize that the person that you're married to, you no longer want to be married to that person. Whatever the reasons, whatever the motivations, no matter who asked for the divorce, whatever the case may be, the bottom line is that the marriage is coming to an end, and that is a tough thing. It's never good to see anything die, especially your relationship. Now, I am glad that he ultimately made the decision to not move forward with the marriage, because as bad as, you know, a marriage ending is, it's even worse when you get into a marriage for the wrong reasons in the first place. And after you weigh things, you realize, okay, should I even stay in this marriage or should I end it? At the end of the day, staying in a bad marriage where both y'all are hating each other and just all of the negative feelings and emotions is far worse than ending the marriage and at least being able to salvage some kind of a healthy relationship between you and your ex-spouse.
I apologize if I said
anything to make you feel uncomfortable or afraid to talk.
You know, you scared me a little bit. You was like, why ain't your birth?
You 45, you a red flag.
I apologize for going in on Sharice. I'm not like that. I'm sensitive. I don't want you to feel like that.
I cannot stand non-apologies or apologies with disclaimers. If I did something to make, man, either you're going to apologize because you feel that you were wrong, or if you don't think you're wrong, don't apologize. Instead, you can say like, look, things got off to things went left, and we really went down a negative path the other day, and I hate that happened. However, here we are, it's a new day. Let's start fresh. Let's make sure that, we can control our, in fact, I'll speak for myself. I'll make sure that moving forward, I'll control my energy, make sure that I don't come at you reckless like just any number of things. If you don't feel you need to apologize because you didn't do nothing wrong, shit, I don't want to give you no pity apology, and I damn sure wouldn't want somebody to give me a pity apology. If you were wrong and felt that you were wrong, then you apologize. If you weren't wrong, then fuck it, don't apologize. It's as simple as that. But all of those apologies, if I did something to you, then I'm sorry, man, keep that. Miss me with that kind of nonsense, because I cannot stand that.
As a black man too, I'm gonna take it there. You just have to be mindful of some people that you interact with and how you interact with them, because something so small turns into something and it denounces your character. And that's how I felt. You. I think it's also as women too to understand, to help another woman understand.
No.
A few episodes ago, I spoke about how the people get into these little groups, and then that's when all the messiness starts and all of the gossip starts. And whenever I see that, I always envision, you ever seen like there's some roadkill and there's always a bunch of buzzards just hanging around picking at the carcass? That's always the image that comes to me when I see people in a circle and you can see them tee-heeing and pointing and that dumb shit. Now, if you see that group of buzzards forming around you, all you got to do is say, hey, you know what, I'm good, and get up and leave. And that's exactly what Shakira was doing. And quite honestly, I'm not mad at her.
I stay away from conversations like this because I don't want to deal with anybody else's drama.
Yeah, I don't want to cook up no mess.
It ain't no mess. We having conversations.
I don't think it's different, and I think Shakira will take it differently as well, understanding her circumstances. It's a touchy subject for her.
Messy people stay doing messy shit. Now, I get it, Shakira could have just gotten up and left without saying, hey, I ain't trying to cook up no messiness or cook up no mess, whatever it is she said. Fine. She could have just left, but she said what she said. Okay, cool. However, that doesn't change the fact that Kadian had no reason to throw in or to bring up, Shakira's personal stuff, especially stuff that was said within the confines of the ladies' lounge or whatever. I mean, there's a certain, that should have been a safe space, and anyway, I it's something about messy people, and I'm gonna break down exactly what I think happened right there anyway, but just messy people do messy shit, and if you can avoid being around messy people.
Kadian brought up my situation in front of a guy.
My son and I have been through a lot, and I still carry the guilt of what he's seen.
By bringing up my trauma, Kadian stole my right of sharing my story. I felt like I was betrayed.
You still leaving?
This right here is what I was talking about when I mentioned earlier about group dynamics. So what you have are 3 women sitting at the table with 1 man. 2 of the women are sitting further back away from the other man and the 3rd woman. Now, that 3rd woman, if you look at her, she's turned directly to the man, meaning she is engaged with him. She is trying to make a connection with him. The other 2 women, not so much, because they're nowhere close and they're just in the same area in the vicinity. So as the 3rd woman, in this case, Kadian, is saying, hey, you know what, Mike, you did a good job, blah, blah, blah. And that's when Shakira decides, hey, I'm good, because she feels the gossip coming, and she gets up to go. Mike basically just ignores Kadian's like, no, please stay. So I'm sure that made Kadian feel some kind of way. And that's why she decided to bring Shakira down a peg by interjecting Shakira's personal stuff. Now, maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm just reading more into it. But I've always said your single friends will keep you single, because they are not, especially when it's a competitive environment. If there's 1 man and 3 women, then damn it, they're going to do what they got to do if they are attracted to that man.
I've been seeing you over there with Miss Jamala. Looking like y'all having such a good time. I seen you touching Jamala's waist and I saw her ass on you too.
Damn, no you didn't. Now you're just making stuff up.
I am?
When you see
Am I
that?
making stuff up?
When you see that part.
There is nothing attractive about an insecure person. I don't care how cute they are and how, the physical may be. The minute they start to be insecure, that's when the attraction leaves. Y'all, again, we are on the 6th, and depending on what kind of math you're using, the 7th episode or the 7th season of this show. No one is surprised at the fact that one person may have multiple connections. So therefore, they're going to be talking to multiple people and sometimes maybe talking to those people in your face. Now, I get it once your feelings are involved, and then of course it's when, the jealousy and all that comes in. However, this ain't the show for you to sign up if you know that you have a proclivity for jealousy or insecurity. And also, if you bring that insecurity to that other person, they're going to be like, oh, shit, I got to deal with this. And I got to be careful how I talk to that person. I got to start watching all this stuff. That is not a good position for you to put that person in because of your insecurity.
It's 3 women, Jamala, Trinica, and Kayla. That's a triangle. It's a triangle going on in me. I can't explain how tough of a situation this is.
Yeah, you already know how I feel and what I want us to build.
Yeah.
Women control access to sex. Men control access to relationships. No matter what Kayla may say that she wants, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ultimately.
Thank you, Zoe. Ultimately, it is Randall who is going to make the decision as to who he wants to pursue when it comes to a more meaningful or serious relationship. And I promise you that Kayla voicing her insecurities and saying, I see you doing this with that, that is not going to push Randall closer to her to where he's like, hey, you know what? Let me be with Kayla, because no, it doesn't work that way. In fact, it's going to push him further away because, again, nobody wants to be with somebody that is insecure. Now, I'm not saying that her reasons or her insecurity isn't valid. I get it. Nobody wants to see the person that you're with pushed upon somebody else. And also at the same time, okay, Randall, if you're going to be talking to somebody, you ain't got to be blatant with whatever the case may be. However, her feelings may be valid. However, that still is not going to sway him as far as who he makes his decision to move forward with.
Remember this, when you're wearing white, yellow draws, red draws, pink draws. You can see right through that. I'm just telling you. Hopefully you brought your white draws.
What about no draws? We got no drawers over here.
Just no draws.
Just no draws. Oh.
I am a huge fan of team no draws. I rock with them all day, every day. Now, as much as I understand in that there is a time and a place as to where you have to wear draws, I am also a huge advocate for conservation and making sure that we don't spend our resources unnecessarily. Do you know how much energy is required to make a pair of drawers? Think about it. If you are wearing drawers, that extra layer, you are contributing to the demise of this planet. So I come to you, I implore you, don't wear any drawers, y'all, okay? Because we've got to save the planet. We've got to.
The power is yours.
Yeah, I understand during this process I'm supposed to open up and just meet all these women, get to know them. But I find that very hard for myself. So now I'm just gravitating more to Kaden, which may hurt me in the end, but I'd rather do that than just be running around to every woman. That's just me.
Not really surprised to hear Swayze say this because he is a relationship dude. He said as much previously when he was talking about the relationship that he had with his, I think it was his baby mother or whatever his previous relationship is. And he said that, hey, he wants to be in a relationship. And I will also say this. Most dudes, when we know, and we know fairly quickly. It doesn't take a huge vetting process for us to think that, you know what, there's something about her, that's who I choose to rock with. Let's see how things go. And that also goes back to what Justice was saying earlier. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money in order to get to know somebody, to know that, yo, that I like this person, I like their vibe, I like their energy, I want to pursue something with them, I want to quote unquote lock them down. It doesn't take that long usually. Now, of course, it differs from man to man. Some dudes, it may be 6 weeks, and others may take 6 months, but ultimately it does not take that long for a man to decide that, hey, that's who I'm rocking with, that's what I want.
So y'all have any questions for me?
Yes. How do you do it? What is the secret ingredient?
We were both ready, and I think that's the key. You have to find each other at that perfect timing.
Right.
And both people have to be ready.
Yes.
This is what I was talking about early. Tommy and Jacqueline are so far removed that if this was the typical life cycle of a relationship, all of the cast members are in the talking stage. They're not even in the quote unquote dating stage, whereas Tommy and Jacqueline are all the way at the final end of the life cycle. You know, so therefore they don't necessarily have any real relevant advice to give to people who are so far apart in where they are in the relationship life cycle. So, and then on top of that, if you add in the modern aspect of it, as far as dating apps, as far as online groups like Facebook groups, et cetera, it's a whole different ball game. So it's not the same. None of the cast members there have even gotten to the dating stage, the deeper, the serious relationship stage, and damn sure none of them are talking about getting married. So it's a stretch for them to offer any kind of real meaningful advice because they are too far advanced from where the rest of the cast is.
Can we be real?
Go ahead.
I
want you to be 100%.
You called me once, and you haven't called me since.
Hey, you didn't answer.
I called you back.
Did you? Because
Did
I did. Okay.
I'm not needy, but I do require attention. And
It's not that
I'm not being an ass. I'm serious.
Again, a man should not chase a woman, but he damn sure should pursue her. If you're interested in a woman, then one phone call ain't gonna cut it. Now, I'm a firm believer in that true, deep, meaningful relationships are built over the phone. You can't get it through text. You can't get it through DM. Yes, FaceTime maybe, but even that to me adds a different layer. Whereas if you're just speaking to that person, talking to them on the phone, then you're picking up on so many subtle clues about who they are. And then on top of that, because you can't see them, what you're doing is you're engaging your imagination because your mind has to fill in, what do they look like? What are they doing? How are they smiling? What is this? What is all of those little things? And you are actively engaged in growing. Now, on the flip side, if that person can't, all you get is dead air and silence, and that tells you something about the strength of either the connection, and I ain't talking about just the phone line, but the strength of the connection that you have with them, or the fact that, okay, this person is boring. No, thank you. Long distance relationships, before, FaceTime and video calling, that's why they were able to work, because you had to talk to that person. You couldn't see them on a regular basis. So therefore it built up an excitement for when you did see them, there would be a connection, you'd be able to reconnect. Now even though we're so interconnected as a society between social media, between FaceTime and all this other stuff, people don't talk on the phone like they used to. So therefore the relationship dynamics have changed as well.
If that's too much for you and your lifestyle, I need to know that. I'm not your woman, so I'm not going to nag you.
Yeah.
But I will do this.
Tiptoe?
No, walk away.
Walk away, okay.
If you're dating with intention, then it makes sense for that person to let their intentions be known. Now, how they do that, be it through their actions or be it through their words, it doesn't matter. They have to let their intentions be known. And at the same time, I like the fact that she said, hey, this is what I am expecting. This is what I am looking for. And if you can't provide that, just say so that way we're not wasting either one of our time. So I appreciate the fact that she's being clear, she's being upfront, she's letting her expectations be known, and now leaving it up to him to decide whether he's going to pursue her or whether he's going to fall back. That is the epitome of dating with intention.
And then when I say that I'm just a black woman, it's like,
Maybe you're just too intimidating.
that's it.
I love an intimidating
I'm
woman.
glad you love my strength. That means the world to
I
me.
embrace that. 'Cause it lets me know that you hold yourself down.
I'm not even sure where to begin with this one. This is an example of what I was talking about feminized men. Now, it's one thing to say that you are attracted to her strengths. That's one thing. But to say you're attracted to an intimidating woman is another. I don't know any man that is attracted to an intimidating woman, much less to be intimidated by a woman, because most dudes aren't intimidated by other men, much less to be intimidated by a woman. So it kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Again, it's one thing to say you like her strengths. It's one thing to say you like how she carries herself. It's one thing to say you like what she does or who, but to say she's intimidating and therefore that's attractive, I'm sorry, that I just can't rock with that one. It don't make any sense to me. Y'all let me know in the comment section if I'm off, but I just can't rock with it.
It's not for everybody to be in a relationship with someone that has such a traumatic past. It's something I wish I could just be rid of, but it's a process.
We've all had a traumatic past. I mean, no matter where we are in life, we've all been through some stuff. Now, it may be major, maybe minor. However, trauma, I guess, is in the eye of the beholder. And one thing I will say is that your trauma is always strongest with you than it is with the other person who's on the outside looking in. It's your learned behavior. It's something you've been dealing with. It's something you've been living with. Whereas the other person is like, okay, they cannot relate because it's not their lived experience. So again, I always say therapy, because it's no different than you're afraid of heights. They're not. So they're looking at you like, man, we're just 10 feet off the ground. To you, it's debilitating. To them, it's 10 feet. Your trauma, your pain, you have to deal with it. You have to make sure that you get the help necessary to deal with the trauma of your past, those past bad relationships, so that way you're able to deal with your present and future relationships in a healthy way.
I was courting a pickle. I had to leave early and I had to take care of my responsibilities.
Where are you going?
And I gotta get to this grand opening. It would have been nice to kind of see how the night went on. I'm creeping out here. Just make sure you let everybody know, including Tommy, I had to go.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Hopefully I'll see.
Man, this is manufactured BS to me. You are a cast member on a show on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Yeah, the black billionaire. So therefore, this is an opportunity. Even if you get sent home today because it just didn't work out, this is still an opportunity for you to market yourself. He is an entrepreneur, or at least he's a businessman of some kind. And any person who is in business, no matter what level they're on, but especially if they're an entrepreneur, or especially if they are in an industry that requires them to interact with other people, they know the importance of relationships. And one of the key components to any relationship, be it a personal or professional one, is communication. It makes absolutely no sense that this 40-plus-year-old man who is a businessman just said, all right, I'm out, and just dipped. It doesn't make any sense. This to me just seems to be some kind of drama to stir up, like, oh, you left my it doesn't make any damn sense. I'm not buying this one.
I can already tell that Tommy's gonna definitely have something to say about this when it's time for one of these guys to go home.
Again, even though this isn't it's not her responsibility to do so, but in any other quote unquote normal scenario, she would have said, hey, you told Tommy you leaving, or you said something. Instead of all the people, he comes to her and be like, hey, tell Tommy I'm gone, or whatever. It makes no damn sense. And quite honestly, the show cannot have it both ways. You cannot have 20 successful black people, entrepreneurs, business people, all kinds of, high level or high earners or high output individuals who are operating or running businesses or have business minds or acumen, who then turn around and do dumb shit like, all right, I'm just going to leave this party. It doesn't make sense. You can't have it both ways. Either these are seasoned professional people who know how to handle their business in the right way, or they're just some people that that don't know how. You cannot have it both ways. Either these people are smart enough to do it the right way and be successful as such, or they're not. Pick a lane.
One of you guys will be going home. But the question is, who will it be?
So 3 of the dudes are on the hot seat this week, but there was no elimination. So that means that we still have 8 women and 7 men going into next week. Speaking of next week, the previews for next week's show look pretty they looked interesting. It looks like there are going to be some fireworks next week. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Speaking of looking forward, as an Aries, I ain't necessarily looking forward to next, Virgo season, but I know them Virgos are, and that's why on the next episode of the CM show, we will be talking about Virgo season. That's the conversation, Virgo season. Just like we've done with all of the zodiacs so far, we've gone into the good, the bad, the ugly, what it takes to be in a relationship with a Virgo, all of the stuff that comes with that particular sign, that kind of thing. So that's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. So if you are Virgo, you dated a Virgo, you know a Virgo, you don't like Virgos, make sure you tune in, because I definitely want to hear what you guys got to say about that. As always, this Friday as well, we're going to be having another episode of the Freeforall Friday edition of the CM show. Not quite sure what we're going to be talking about just yet. Yeah, I know one of the things we're going to be talking about is that crazy ass slide up in Detroit. But anyway, we're going to talk about a few other things, so be sure you tune in on Friday for that. In the meantime, please, if you haven't, make sure that you follow me right here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, but also on other social media platforms as well. On Instagram, it's going to be at Christopher_Markland. You can also follow me on Facebook. That's at author Christopher Markland. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at author_Chris M. And I do live tweet during the show, even though I didn't get a chance to do it this past Friday, but still follow your boy anyway. There's also the links to my books are in the description box. So if you haven't already bought a copy of the book, please make sure you do. And please definitely leave a review. Now, let me know what y'all think. Do y'all agree or, with Justice or, how my analysis of it, or do you think he's just full of shit? Also, who do you think, the three guys that are, who is it, Sean, Zoe, and Justice are on the hot seat, or do you think it should be somebody else? What do you think about the whole interaction between Shakira and what is that young lady's name? I can't remember her name. Anyway, that lady, as far as putting that, her personal information out, let me know what y'all think about that. Now, I think I may do a live after this show goes off. I may go live on YouTube and talk about, the whole thing that I was discussing a little bit more in detail with Justice, and how things are just a little bit skewed when it comes to relationships, when it comes to men, women, and just how all of the dynamics, like I said, the feminized men, the masculine women, all of that. So if you're interested in that, I think I'm definitely going to do it after this goes off. I'm going to go live. And of course, I always have it. So if you want to jump in on Zoom and say, hey, Chris, you full of shit, hey, I'm here for it. Anyway, as always, y'all, hey, I thank y'all for watching this review. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe. See y'all next week. And as always, stay determined.